Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall at AM 630. WMAL.
637 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. It's Brian Wilson. I am joined today, very pleased to be joined today by Sherry Jacobus, GOP political strategist. Good to have you, Sherry.
Good to be here.
Well, there is a story that we have been covering since the 12th of last month, and that is the situation that occurred in Benghazi. And it has been a very interesting story as it's developed, and a lot of ups and downs. Well, one guy who's been on this story also from day one and has broken a lot of details about what we knew and when we knew it is Eli Lake from Newsweek and the Daily Beast. He's their senior national security correspondent, and we're glad to have him with us today. Hello, Eli.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Let me start by playing out this little soundbite from the Secretary of State yesterday. She's on the road in Lima, Peru, gives a round of interviews, and she takes full responsibility for what happened in Benghazi.
Are they throwing you under the bus? Oh, of course not. You know, look, I take responsibility. I'm in charge of the State Department, 60,000 plus people all over the world, 275 posts. The president and the vice president certainly wouldn't be knowledgeable about specific decisions that are made by security professionals.
Okay. What do you read into that, Eli?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things here. I mean, on the surface, that's absolutely right. The Secretary of State is going to be responsible for not only the decision of the diplomatic security personnel and whether to renew what's known as a site security team, but the Secretary of State is going to also have some responsibility for the overall posture of the United States in a region of Libya where we had plenty of information, including 2 bombing attempts at the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, that it was a very dangerous place and that it was a place where, if not Al-Qaeda, certainly jihadists who share the same goals as Al-Qaeda, their presence was expanding. So on that level, it's true, but I don't necessarily think it gets the White House or the president in this election year out of the woods because, you know, if you've now got a situation where the intelligence community is taking responsibility, the Secretary of State is taking responsibility, but I think it opens up a kind of line of attack potentially for Republicans where they say, well, when is the White House going to take responsibility?
Well, and then there's a second layer here. I mean, okay, so there's the questions about why didn't we take action beforehand? And then there's a question about, okay, well, once it happened, why did we keep talking about it was tied to the video? And then the third thing comes about what the president did afterwards. In the wake of this, he didn't call his National Security Council together. Instead, he went on a trip to Las Vegas to raise money. I mean, there's 3 different stories here, are there not?
I would add one more story.
Okay.
And that is the president hasn't decided yet whether he is going to respond as if this was a crime through the FBI and asking the very weak state of Libya to arrest suspects in the country, or whether he's going to respond as if this is another act of war, if you will, or act of terrorism, and, you know, special operations forces from the, you know, military or drones are going to attack suspects in places like northern Mali or throughout Libya.
Just on that point, do you have any indication that they are talking about military options?
I wrote a piece now, I think about 10 days ago, and the AP has a story today, the New York Times is written about this. There have been target packages that have been prepared, and they are at an office that does contingency planning right now at the Pentagon for special operations. Some of the intelligence is believed to be perishable, meaning that, you know, act now or maybe these suspects could evade detection and leave their locations where their people are believed to be. But, you know, this is intelligence and nothing is 100% certain. So one person's view that it's 100% solid, I think, has met, you know, resistance. It's not necessarily a clear picture, but there's definitely an effort out right now to find targets in Libya and North Africa that are connected to the murder of the U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans.
Well, Eli, I think most people obviously in America would support that, but to a degree it could be a case that the horse is already out of the barn. How do you put the toothpaste back in the tube? And one thing that I think has been missing from the conversation here, and I think this is because the administration has been shifting blame and perhaps trying to find a way to tap dance around this so they don't have political accountability, but we're not hearing where the breakdown in communication was and how to fix that so that this doesn't happen again, so that we don't have to have these discussions about going in and attacking Libya and waiting for the guys to get away and that sort of thing. And this was an attack that happened not just on the anniversary of 9/11, but this was the first 9/11 anniversary after bin Laden had been killed. Very significant. So you think that we would have all been on higher alert, taken some sort of special precautions, and we're not hearing a lot about that. How to prevent something like this and be prepared in the future, and that's missing. Or have you been hearing things that perhaps we're not?
Well, it looks like there were some precautions. I mean, the meetings that Ambassador Stevens had in Benghazi were not done around town. People came to him in the consulate. So I get the sense that there were some precautions that day. We know that Ambassador Stevens knew that he was a target of al-Qaeda, and we knew that there was a threat against him in that summer because, a website, there was a Facebook posting affiliated with people who liked Gaddafi, not the same as people who liked al-Qaeda, noting the route that he liked to run near the embassy in Tripoli,
right?
And I guess urging murder. So there was that. I would go further, though. I would say the problem here might be that you had an Obama administration that was very willing to help change the regime in Libya and provide air support for the militias fighting that civil war against Gaddafi. But this is an administration that also did not want to do the rest of the job, which is the reconstruction and the serious kind of boots-on-the-ground training of a security force that was done in Iraq and Afghanistan. As a result, there was enormous pressure to normalize the U.S. security posture in Libya when there was not and is anything but a normal situation on the ground in that country, particularly in the eastern part of that country, where we saw the rise of not only militias that didn't necessarily share the same U.S. interests, but the rise of militias and other groups that were clearly affiliates, if not affinity groups, of al-Qaeda.
Well, Eli, it's always a pleasure to have you on and tap into your knowledge about this. We really appreciate you joining us here this morning. Eli Lake, Senior National Security Reporter for Newsweek and the Daily Beast. Thanks a lot, Eli.
Thank you.